Hello, Kingdom family. Well, I'm really excited to share with you how I make the communion bread. I make it every Saturday. It's fresh on Sunday. And given the situation with the virus, I was asked if I'd be willing to share. Now, a few things I want to say is I use the gold medal whole wheat flour. You can use others. You just are going to have to be careful that it isn't, when you put the water in, it's not either too stiff or too doughy. So we'll start off with, it takes 2 cups. Now when I do it for church, I take and of course triple this, but 2 cups of the whole wheat flour. And you want to level that off, and then you use sea salt. And given that not everybody has sea salt, there's some ways that you can kind of change this a little bit. If you don't have any wheat flour, you could possibly just use like white flour, but you just want to watch the consistency. You would still use the 2 cups and the salt and the oil with that. But you take, again, 2 cups of the whole wheat flour, a half a teaspoon of sea salt, and 2 tablespoons of olive oil. And then you will get 3/4 of a cup of cold water. And just take your fork and you kind of stir it around so you can get it all blended in and mixed together. The consistency will be kind of like soft, kind of similar to what Play-Doh is. And what you want to do is knead this. I usually do this on my counter, but since we're doing a demonstration of this, I figured it would be easier to do it on my table. I've been doing this for over 7 years, and it's really been a blessing. And whenever there's like hard times or, you know, things going on, I always like doing this because as I do it, I pray. And I pray for the pastors, I pray for the church and people in the church. So anyway, so you're going to have a dough that is kind of soft. You don't want it too stiff. Now, if you use a different wheat flour that is... it's too soft and it's sticky, just add some more flour to it, just a little bit at a time. Then what I do is I roll it out, and over the years as I've done this, I always see, you know, kind of like with Christ, you know, what he went through for us for Easter and Palm Sunday and the crucifixion. And I remember the first time I started rolling it out, I thought about how they stretched his arms out. And with the kneading, I feel like, you know, I thought of how they pushed him and they pushed him down. And so there's times, actually, Easter is the only time that I get more emotional making this because of thinking of what Rev Kev has shared about the crucifixion, and as I go through the other things I show you, I'll explain to you the things that I just, you know, really see Jesus and what he went through that week. So anyway, so you roll it out, and I'd say it's about maybe an inch or more, and I just take a dough cutter. You can take a knife, it doesn't matter, and I'll take and just go down and just try to cut them to make them close to being the same size. You don't have to do it perfectly. I've done it for so long that I pretty much know when one's too big and one's too small. Then what I do is I have, you can do a pie pan or whatever, but these things that I use is only for when I make the bread. So what I do is I roll it up, I put it in here. It's kind of strange taking and just doing like one batch like this because I do 3, and the one is I triple it. So then with doing that, you should get about like 7. You know, you can make them a little bit bigger if you want. Once I've done that, because you don't want this to get dried out as you work with the others, I'll just take and put a plate over it. And then put some flour on the bottom so it doesn't stick. And I get one out. And I kind of roll it in my hand. And I press it down like this. Now for communion, I make it into a square. Now I'll show you how I do that, but I'm going to show you a different way for you guys to do this. But then I'll kind of flip it over on the sides and put some flour on. And I take my rolling pin. And if you don't have a rolling pin, you know, because not all guys have rolling pins, and not all girls that are just moving into apartments and stuff may not have a rolling pin. Just find something that you can roll with it to kind of flatten it out. It's kind of strange doing it on my table because the counter is a little bit higher. And of course I totally do this different than I do it for the nativity. So once I've done that, like I said, I'm just showing you how I do it every Sunday. I take a brush that I use just for this, nothing else. You can just even use a brush that you use for barbecue, just to brush off the excess flour. Now this, the first time I did this, I literally had to stop because I started to cry. And even when I still think about it, it really, what I see in my inner mind's brain is when I go through this, the first time I did it, you can feel it kind of going through the dough. And I thought about how when they was beating Jesus and they took those bones with the hooks and they cut into his flesh. And the first time I ever did this, it at Easter time just really impacted me to that, you know, this represents Christ's flesh. It is the bread, but it is his flesh. And so I had to stop. I got crying so hard that I had to stop so the tears would not get into the dough. But then you take a fork. And with this, as I go through, because you want to make sure you don't have like air bubbles, I thought about how he was pierced for us. And so when for all the years that I've done it, every Easter, I will, these things I will see and associate with making this. And I have to say that I am so honored to make this for our church. Okay, so that's how I do this. But I'm going to discard this one, and I'm going to show you how you guys are going to be doing it. Again, take and put some flour on here so it doesn't stick. And you get your next one. I will take and pat my hand kind of on the flour and then kind of roll it so it doesn't stick to my hands. But this is how you guys can do it, because you don't have to cut it and stuff. I just do that for church when the servers, they can just break it and give the pieces. But the only time I don't do that is at Easter time for communion night on Thursday. I leave it round so that it's torn off. And what I do is I just kind of turn it. I try to do this slow because I'm used to doing it so fast. And I just kind of turn it and then put some pressure on my rolling pin. And you want to get it to where it's about this thin. Then, again, take my brush. And I brush off the excess. too, if you don't have anything to roll it out with, you can take a pan and kind of push down on it or something. And you can even take your hands to make it a little bit thinner. But then when you're done with that, you just take and again put the holes in it to keep it from getting air bubbles. Now, when I make the bread each weekend for Rev Kev, I do it this way, and then I just take this and go down so he breaks the bread, but I try to keep it whole. Now, I've already got my grill started, so I have this down to such a science that when I put 2 of these on the griddle, while I roll out the first one, and then the first one, I will go over and flip them. Now, you don't want to have your pan, I like cast iron, so I have 2 cast iron griddles, but you don't want to have them too hot, because if this is too hot, it will take and burn it. I put it over here on my griddles, and I put first side down is the side that I pierced this on. And you can do the flame probably about up to a medium. Now you can leave these probably on here a couple minutes depending on your heat. Like I said, you don't want to put it on high. Maybe like a medium. The first time I ever did this, it always seems I burnt the first ones I put on here. But you can kind of like lift them up and see if they're starting to get like a little toasty. You see a few little bubbles here, but those will basically go down. But there you can see how they're starting to get that little toasted spots there. That's what you kind of want to look for. Now this griddle I don't have quite as hot as this one. So when I have flipped them over, I then will go to do my other one. And then I'll have 2 more. But anyway, but you know, it is a ministry, and I know there has been times that when things have been really hectic. You know, many of you know that last year I injured my back. I fractured it, and I was in a great deal of pain. It happened on a Tuesday, and I make the bread on Saturday, and I couldn't move my arms. I was in excruciating pain from the spasms and stuff, and I was like, Lord, you know, I need to make this bread. And, you know, I just really prayed, and I got everything together, and as I mixed up the first batch, you saw it I do in the bowl. I have 3 bowls of those that I do. I excuse me, got the bread out and started kneading it, and the pain started subsiding. And I mean, it hurt, but it wasn't the excruciating pain that I had been having. And when I did the last one of these, took it off the griddle, put it in, I wrapped them in saran wrap and then put them in the press and seal, it came back. But each time during the months that I was in a lot of pain, when I would do it, I would start praying. And it was like the pain, the excruciating stabbing pain wasn't there. So there was definitely, you know, it's healing to me to do this. Okay, so these are done here. And what I'm going to do is just put them over here on this. And you see they got a nice, the brown spots on them. And when I look at these, they remind me of the bruises that Jesus' body took for us. So I'm going to cover those up just to keep them warm for right now. Then what I do is I will get some saran wrap. And you can do this like if you do them like that morning and you want to make sure that they're nice and fresh. You get your saran wrap and then you just put them in here and fold this up. And if you don't have any press and seal, I like it considering that I make the communion bread on Saturday. It helps to keep it fresh. There's been times that I have made the communion bread at 11 o'clock at night because Heather and I may have been out doing something and we didn't get back till late and stuff. But my day on Saturday involves having this done. And then you just fold this, press it and seal it. It will be warm, and that warmth helps to keep it from getting dried out. And there you go. What?
You can go to the store.
Sorry. My camera person, which is Heather, is doing a great job. She was telling me that you can go to the store and hopefully with everything be able to get what you need. If you're wanting to use the whole wheat flour and you don't think you're going to use a whole bag of it, if you have family members, give some to them so they, can make it so we can all partake. The church is the building that we come together to worship and to have the word given to us. But the church is us. So just imagine how each home that's doing this Thursday and Friday and Saturday, how wide the church has become. And I look forward to seeing everyone at the drive-in church on Sunday. I'm so excited about that. So anyway, so if you have any questions, they will make it so you can post any questions, and I will be watching that and try to answer them the best that I can. And thank you for your patience, because I've never done it like this. I'm no Rachel Ray, as you can tell. So take care. God bless. Be safe. Wash your hands and wear your mask.